It was supposed to be just another ordinary day at the grocery store, nothing out of the usual. But sometimes, fate has different plans. When an elderly woman reached the checkout counter, her hands trembling as she searched through her purse with a worried expression, a young cashier found himself at a crossroads. In that moment, he had a choice to make, a simple decision that seemed small, yet would unknowingly set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. What happened just 1 week later? No one in the town could have predicted it, and when the truth came out, it left everyone completely speechless. Stick around, because this is a story of kindness, destiny, and an unbelievable twist that will warm your heart. A simple act of kindness. Daniel was a 22-year-old cashier at a modest grocery store in a quiet little town. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous. He was just like any other hardworking young man, doing his best to make ends meet. Every day, he stood behind the register, scanning groceries, greeting customers with a polite smile, and working long hours to save up for college. It was a simple routine, nothing extraordinary. But one fateful afternoon, something unusual happened. An elderly woman, her gentle face marked with the lines of time, slowly approached Daniel's register. Her name was Margaret. In her basket? Just the basics: bread, milk, some vegetables, and a few cans of soup. She smiled warmly at Daniel as he began scanning her items, her presence radiating a grandmotherly kindness. But then, as he announced the total, something changed. Margaret hesitated. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached into her purse, rifling through its contents with an anxious expression. A moment later, her face fell. Her warm smile faded into embarrassment, and her cheeks flushed red. "Oh, dear. I must have left my wallet at home," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. The line behind her grew restless. Customers shifted impatiently, sighing under their breath. The store manager, standing a few feet away, glanced at Daniel, silently urging him to move the transaction along. The pressure was on. Margaret looked up at Daniel with pleading eyes. "I can put some things back. I don't want to hold up the line." Her voice was filled with quiet resignation, as if she were used to doing without. But before she could remove a single item, Daniel acted. In a split-second decision, without hesitation, he reached into his own pocket, pulled out his wallet, and swiftly swiped his card. The register beeped. The groceries were paid for. Margaret's eyes widened in shock. "Young man, you don't have to do that," she protested, shaking her head in disbelief. But Daniel simply smiled and shrugged. "It's okay, ma'am. This one's on me. Just promise me you'll have a great day." For a moment, Margaret just stood there, silent, as tears welled up in her eyes. Then, with a trembling hand, she reached out and gently squeezed Daniel's. "You're a blessing," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. And with that, she gathered her groceries and walked out of the store. Daniel didn't think much of it after that. It was just a small act of kindness, one that he didn't expect anything in return for. But what happened next? He never saw it coming. A week later, time passed, and Daniel had nearly forgotten about the kind old woman he had helped that day. It had been just another moment in his daily routine, nothing more. Or so he thought. One morning, as Daniel was busy scanning items for a customer, a sleek, black luxury car pulled up in front of the store. The engine purred, its polished surface gleaming under the sunlight. Everyone in the store noticed it, because in this small town, seeing a vehicle like that was rare. The door opened, and out stepped a tall, well-dressed man in a sharp suit. He exuded an air of importance, his every movement poised and confident. But he wasn't alone. A second figure emerged from the car. It was Margaret. But something was different about her. She no longer had the quiet, humble demeanor of the elderly woman from before. This time, she carried herself with a quiet grace, an aura of authority. She looked almost regal. The store manager, now visibly nervous, rushed forward to greet her. "Mrs. Sinclair?" "What a surprise!" he exclaimed, his voice filled with both shock and respect. Daniel, still standing at his register, watched the scene unfold in utter disbelief. "Wait, Mrs. Sinclair? Margaret, ignoring the growing whispers around her, walked straight toward Daniel. Her warm smile was back, but this time, it carried a different weight. "Daniel," she said, her voice kind yet firm. "I've been looking for you." Daniel swallowed hard. "Emmy?" She nodded, reaching into her elegant handbag and pulling out a neatly folded document. Her hands no longer trembled. Instead, she looked at him with certainty. "I need to tell you something." Margaret took a deep breath, her smile growing wider. "You didn't know this, but I'm not just an elderly woman struggling to buy groceries."
She paused.
"My full name is Margaret Sinclair, and I own this grocery chain." Daniel's jaw nearly dropped. His mind raced. The store fell silent, every employee and customer now fixated on this unexpected revelation. "What?" he stammered. Margaret continued. "I've spent my life building this business from the ground up. But lately I've been wondering, do the people working here still have the kindness and values that started it all? So, I decided to see for myself." Daniel's hands shook. "You mean you were testing us?" Margaret chuckled softly. "In a way. But you did something that no one else did. You saw a person in need, and instead of looking the other way, you acted with kindness. That's rare these days. And that's why—" She extended the document toward him. "I'd like to offer you a full scholarship to college." The air was thick with stunned silence. Daniel's breath hitched. His vision blurred as he stared at the paper in front of him. "A scholarship," he whispered. Margaret nodded, her eyes twinkling. "Consider it an investment in someone who truly deserves it." The store erupted. Gasps, murmurs, and astonished whispers filled the air. Daniel's heart pounded. He had never expected this. Not in a million years. But that's the thing about kindness. It has a way of coming back to you when you least expect it. So the next time you see someone in need, ask yourself, what would you do? Because sometimes, one small act of generosity can change a life forever. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming real-life stories. See you in the next one.